What's up, everybody? It is very good to see you for this at-home edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lancia. So coming up, we got the Gojo boys joining us. Are they team Bailey Zappi or are they team Mac Jones? Because it feels like not even Bill Belichick knows which team he's on at this point. We're going to dive into some Week 8 totals around the NFL as well. Best DFS plays on the 3-game NHL slate. We're going for quality, not quantity tonight on the ice. Plus, who the hell to roster at the Bermuda Championship? But first, we got some NBA best bets to discuss here with DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya, RotoWire's Nick Whalen standing by to help us out with tonight's slate. So, Whalen, looking here, Portland 4-0 in the season. They're hosting the 1-3 Heat. They are just 2-point favorites, though, 2-point home favorites. Who thinks that they can take care of business and move to 5-0? Do you?
I think they certainly can. I understand, why they're only 2-point favorites. And I think there's still a healthy amount of skepticism around this Blazers team that nobody was really sure what they would look like. And Damian Lillard came out on opening night, looked a little sluggish. The raw stats were okay, but didn't necessarily pass the eye test. He's completely flipped that narrative over the last 3 games, looking like old Damian Lillard. And that's changed everything for this team. Anthony Simons kind of looks like a supercharged version of CJ McCollum. Jeremy Grant has been a really nice fit on the wing, and Yusuf Nurkic giving them good minutes as well. So Portland to me has been one of the biggest early season surprises. And with Miami, we know they have the infrastructure. They're one of those teams that's always going to be competitive. But this team feels like it's lacking a little bit of depth. I think they're struggling to replace PJ Tucker. They've moved Tyler Hero into the starting 5, and they've had some really up and down games so far, struggling to score the ball a little bit. So on the road here, long trip for Miami, like literally as far of a road trip as they could possibly take in the NBA. I kind of like Portland at home.
Yeah, Chinmay, where do you sit on this, man? It feels like something's brewing here in Portland. You also got Lillard heating up with already a pair of 41-point games.
Yeah, Lillard has been phenomenal. He's obviously bounced back from the injuries that he had last season, which obviously cost him the end of the year. And the Blazers made some good additions in the offseason. They got Jeremy Grant in. They brought back Yusuf Nurkic. They rounded out that roster around Damian Lillard. And it's come together pretty well so far at the beginning of the year. Now, the Blazers have become home underdogs at this point by a few points. So I would take them at home, even as the favorites. I would have taken them, but especially as the underdogs. Portland is a much better team at home. And as Nick mentioned, this is Miami's first road game of the season. It's a very long trip, and they've just been a little off. They just haven't been that Heat team that we've seen over the past few seasons early in this season. So I'm going with the Blazers here. You can take them against the spread. I might just take them straight up on the money line.
Because it's been a good start to the season too, Chinmay, for like Jimmy Butler. He just hasn't been getting that like consistent help here, right? Like I'm looking at Kyle Lowry. He's got a combined 6 for 28 during Miami's 3 losses.
Yeah, it just hasn't been good around Jimmy Butler. And again, Miami will figure it out. We know they have that system in place. I think they just need time to figure out exactly what's going on here. PJ Tucker might have been a bigger loss than they anticipated. Tyler Hero moving into the starting lineup has obviously thrown that rotation off a little bit. So they need some time to figure it out, but I do expect Miami to turn things around after this tough start to begin the year.
I mean, I don't know, Whalen, if the Lakers are ever going to turn things around or figure out whatever the hell is happening right now, because they're winless through 3 games and they're 5.5-point dogs tonight against the Nuggets. They're like the question here that Tom, our producer, put in, can LeBron and company finally get in the win column tonight? I'm just going to answer that and say no. What do you think?
I don't know when it's going to happen. At some point, they're going to win a game. It's I don't know when. I mean, you look at the schedule coming up. There are no real gimmies at all early on for LA. I think this is going to be a team that is not going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to the whole narrative around this team is going to be, can they avoid handing the Pelicans a top 5 pick? Because that's kind of the double whammy here, is even if they have a bad year, doesn't matter. You don't have your pick. You used it to get Anthony Davis. Their offensive rating right now, Emerson, is 97.2. That is like 1988 offensive rating. Like that is not what you want to see. It's horrific. It is way worse than second worst in the league. They're shooting 21% from 3. They're literally the worst 3-point shooting team in the modern era. They have the worst true shooting percentage in the NBA, but it doesn't sound like Russell Westbrook is going to play tonight. So that is the saving grace. Perhaps without Russell Westbrook, they could find a way to beat Denver, who might be without Michael Porter Jr. as well. He popped up on the injury report. I don't know, man. If they win, it's not going to be inspiring. I mean, they're in that zone where until until they make a trade, I think they're just officially a bad team. They're not even an average team. They're a well below average team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Nick. And Chinmay, I'm not sure how far off you are on this, but I can't understand how anyone could be surprised at this. Like, this is just who the Lakers are right now.
Yeah, it's been really bad. And the crazy thing is that LeBron and Anthony Davis actually haven't been that bad. They've been good. So the problem has been the roster construction around those two guys. And we mentioned Russell Westbrook. Patrick Beverley has been playing in some off-guard role, which doesn't really suit him. Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves, Juan Toscano Anderson, these guys just aren't cutting it as peripheral players. So, you know, if you're backing some LeBron and Anthony Davis props, that might be something to bet here. As far as the Lakers actually winning the game, I don't even know that Russell Westbrook being out changes much for them, because they simply need bodies at this point to play the game. Like, the Lakers don't have solid rotation players. And Russell Westbrook, say what you want about him, but he is at least a rotation player in the NBA. And I talked about, you know, I've talked about even on this show that Russell Westbrook really has to come off the bench. They really have to stagger his minutes for him to be an effective player on this LA team. So I don't think that's going to happen. He's not going to play tonight. But even if he does, even if he would have played, I think he would have started again. So I don't know exactly what's happening there. It's been the LeBron and Anthony Davis show, and the other guys just haven't stepped up yet.
Yeah, and I know James is doing things that nobody thought anybody could really do 2 decades into a career. We know Davis is still 29 here, Nick, but both are far from being feared as like the league's elite. And neither have finished a full season for nearly 5 years. You could count that title season, but they got like 4 months off before like the second half of that. So aside from those 2 games though, dude, what is your favorite spread on the board tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple. I mean, Hawks -7.5 at Detroit is appealing to me. Detroit coming off of a back-to-back. They did not look great last night. You know, they're a team that started strong opening night against Orlando and has kind of regressed into the team that maybe we thought they would be this season. And meanwhile, the DeJounte Murray-Trae Young pairing has been really encouraging so far. I was a little skeptical as to how those two would play together, but it looks like that's going to be a pretty good fit. John Collins has taken on a larger role this season. He's playing like 7 more minutes per game than last season when he was inexplicably playing like 27, 28 minutes most nights. So I kind of like what's going on in Atlanta. And to me, Detroit's still a rebuilding team. Milwaukee, -3.5 at home against the Brooklyn Nets. You know, it feels like we've barely seen Milwaukee so far. Other teams have already played 4 games. They've only played a couple, but they look great against Philadelphia. I thought the defense was unbelievable in that game. And I think against the Nets, this is a matchup that they feel pretty good about. You know, it's kind of a let Kevin Durant get his, we'll contain Kyrie. And I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks are all that worried about Ben Simmons. So I think this is a pretty good spot for Milwaukee at home.
All right, Chinmay, what's your favorite spread on the board?
I like the Timberwolves -9 against the Spurs. The Spurs are trying to tank. Devin Vassell is not going to be in the lineup tonight. Timberwolves are trying to win games. Spurs are trying to lose games. I think this sets up really well for Minnesota. Also, Knicks -8 against the Hornets. The Hornets are missing LaMelo Ball. They're going to be out Terry Rozier as well. Knicks have actually looked really good despite not getting some results. They've actually been competitive. So I like New York in that one. A couple of big spreads relative to some early regular season games, but I think the injuries there for the other teams really help Minnesota and New York.
All right, Chinmay, we'll get you guys out of here with this. What about game totals here, man? Which one interests you the most?
Rockets Jazz over 233.5. I know it's a big number, but both these teams have been lighting up the scoreboard offensively. And also Bulls Pacers under 234. The Pacers have been scoring the ball, but I just don't think they're going to get it done against the Bulls. And Chicago has not been scoring as much as well. So I think under for Bulls Pacers and over for Rockets Jazz on what is a similar number, but just 2 completely different matchups there.
All right, what about you, Waylon?
Yeah, I like that Rockets Jazz over. You know, those teams earlier this week went way under their total. I think that maybe that comes around. 2 teams you don't really trust on defense. Lakers Nuggets total to me is a little high, 229.5. I'd go under on that. I mean, we already went over the Lakers offensive numbers. I think they're going to struggle against any defense, even though Denver is 31st in defensive rating so far. That's been an issue for them. And then Sixers Raptors. It's a low number. I'm kind of going back and forth on this, 211.5. But these are the 2 slowest paced teams in the NBA through the first week of the season. Toronto just played a game in the 90s against Miami. Philly didn't even get to 90 points, against Milwaukee last week. So this could be another one of those games.
All right, dudes. Good times. Good hanging out with you. Thanks for the help around the association. We're talking with the Gojo gang right after this break.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
October baseball is all about wild cards and wild wins, because with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays, you can boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. DraftKings, I think I love you. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Everyone loves an underdog story. You know why? Because it fills you with hope, makes you believe, right? Hold on now. Did you say any team? So now I can bet the overdog for underdog odds? Team Overdog, where you at? Let me hear you.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
Get that Game 7 excitement any day of the NBA season with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. DraftKings is giving out $1 million in free prizes to celebrate the start of the season. Everyone plays for free, no deposit required. Every bucket, block, and board gets you closer to winning big. Open the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app, draft your lineup, and enter the NBA Free Contest Series for a shot to win big prizes. NBA action's so good, why play anywhere else?
saying, dude.
Just having some tea over here.
You are sipping tea. Okay, everybody. Welcome back to an at-home edition of The Sweat. So what are we, like about 15 minutes into this show? And when we're 15 minutes into the show on Wednesdays, that is when I tell all of you lovely men and women out there about the beautiful, emotional, and provocative podcast that Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman bring your way every weekday morning. So listen to the former Notre Dame teammates, the Gojo Show, talk sports and stuff on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, and more. They're also hanging with me every Wednesday, as you probably know by now. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Emerson. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Good morning, Brandon. What's going on?
Nothing much other than my face taking up this entire screen.
You know what? Yeah, I noticed that when you joined, and I love your face. So like, I'm not complaining about it, to be honest with you. Like,
have I worn this outfit on here yet?
No, you've been a big like blazer polo guy recently, which I respect. Like Mike, I don't know, have you seen him wear this? Like, I don't wardrobe track people like my wife does.
No, I don't either, unfortunately. But I don't think Brandon's worn that before. It's very stylish. It's very fall right now. I understand he's been like moved by the spirit of Taylor Swift, so maybe that's why this is here.
That does seem very Taylor Swift-esque, like what you have on. And listen, I got no beef with her. I don't really listen to like her music, but I know that everyone here around the world, all the Swifties have been. I feel like they're unhinged right now, Mike.
They are. It's a trying time, and I say that as one of the Swifties. I am unhinged.
Yeah.
It's like Mercury being in retrograde, but all the time, and you just get to dose it into your ears.
All right. Well, Brandon, you look beautiful. Whatever it is that you're wearing, it's not so much a beautiful situation, though, gentlemen, as we're going to dive into some NFL storylines right now in Indianapolis, man. This quarterback carousel is spinning. So they've run out of, like, since 2019, they have definitely run out of luck. All right. So listen to this. I hate myself. Since Andrew Luck took off, dudes, we went from Brissett to Hoyer to Rivers to Wentz to Ryan to now Sam Ehlinger. 3-1 though, Mike. The Colts are not out of this thing in the AFC and even the AFC South, for crying out loud. Like, do you think that this gamble pays off?
Listen, I have my doubts on this. I know Sam Ehlinger is a good, solid college quarterback. Obviously, the things he did at Texas, leadership, gritty player. I always joked he woke up and had a Tim Tebow poster on his wall. He wanted to walk out of every game covered in turf marks, covered in blood. He was just that kind of player. And I think this is really about just that, being able to buy this team a little extra time on offense, because where they were, pass protection, the running game, all hadn't delivered in the ways that Indianapolis had wanted. Frank Reich said as much and said he told Matt Ryan as much. We didn't hold up our end of the bargain. So what do you need? A quarterback who's not a statue back there. Matt Ryan is many things. Mobile is not one of them. Yeah. They need a guy who's going to be able to get them out of a few extra mistakes along the way. And so I think that will help some. Do I think it's the difference between them being a playoff team and not? No, I don't know if Sam Ehlinger is that quarterback yet. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, it's a good point there, Mike, because he rushed for nearly 2,000 yards in his career as a starting quarterback for the Longhorns here. Brandon, what do you think about this move? Like, for me, I'm immediately like, well, the next man up there is Nick Foles. And we know the relationship that Nick Foles has with Frank Reich.
Ooh, give me chills. I don't think they can recreate that magic just yet. Okay. But I do like this move, though. I do like this move mainly because there's no film out there on Sam Ehlinger in the NFL. I think there's a little bit of that Dak magic, that Gardner Minshew magic. There's something to a quarterback that's capable just going out there and making plays. So I'm interested in seeing it. I wish they would have announced something more of like a quarterback competition. Obviously we know that Matt Ryan's kind of banged up, but it just seems disrespectful for a guy who was like their saving grace. Like we all run to the social media post of how much hope they had for Matt Ryan in that blue. But I'm sad for that franchise. But like you said, they're kind of in it right now, and this gamble could lead them in the playoffs in a crowded AFC.
Like, it's this rent a quarterback approach that they've been going with for so long. By the way, I was talking to someone the other day about that. Is it Ehlinger or Ehlinger? Like, what are we going with here? It's already been pronounced four different ways in this segment.
Yeah, I feel like you just throw enough glitter at the wall and let it stick. We've covered all of our bases on here. So I got you guys on the Ehlinger. You guys got the Ehlinger down here. Yeah. So we're covered. Okay. Whatever his mom wants, we provided during this segment. Okay, awesome. I do know how to pronounce Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. Whose side are we on here, Mike? Pats are 1.5-point favorites in New York against the Jets on Sunday. Even like Patriots players were calling this thing an ugly situation after the game on Monday night. Yeah, it seemed confusing. Bill Belichick may have finally outsmarted even himself. Yeah. We talked for so long about how every move the Patriots made for such a long time, we always on the outside would go, well, Bill must know something that we don't hear. Clearly, they're getting the better end of this trade. They're getting the better end of this draft pick. They're letting the right player go at the right time. And now it just seems like being cryptic for cryptic's sake. And when that message isn't communicated with the team, because Emerson, Bill Belichick can say whatever he wants to us on the outside. I don't care about that. It's what are you saying to the guys in the locker room? And if that message isn't getting home there at that position, then we've got a real problem. You've already got the weird offensive coordinator situation. You've already got an injury with Mac Jones there. Everyone on that team deserves to know who's going to be leading them. Now, I don't really have a dog in this fight. You can't convince me that Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are actually different people. I think this is at best, this is a parent trap situation. At worst, it's just like twins who put on a different mustache. But I think Mac Jones is ultimately going to get the nod and the chance as long as he's healthy. Obviously, he came back from a very real ankle injury. That was a real part of all
He
this.
didn't look injured, though, Mike. That was my thing. He just looked like he was bad at football when he's coming back. And who knows if like between the ears right now, he could just be messed up, man.
I just don't think that all changes in one game because, again, like Bailey Zappi came in, it looked great for a while, but even Zappi Mania in the body of this game lasted about a quarter. I said somewhere in Boston, there's a kid in the hospital that was born during the height of the first or second quarter when Zappi was going off, who's named Bailey. And then by the third or fourth quarter, parents who were full of regret for the decision they've made.
I mean, like, listen, it's a tough barometer. Like his 2 starts that he won, Brandon, they were against the Browns and like the Lions, but it's just a fact right now. You look at this offense, you look at the numbers. It's a better offense with Bailey Zappi under center compared to Mac Jones. Again, small sample size.
Small sample size. He wasn't ready to go out there. I don't care what Bill Belichick said to Lisa Salters at halftime. He was not prepared to go out there, and I think it showed because he fizzled out after those first couple plays. Listen, when it comes to Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, Mr. Pepperoni Nipples, like I gotta go with Bailey Zappi because I am someone who what? Mac Jones has pepperoni nipples.
Yeah, dude. That's I knew common. I played it, dude. I played high school football, which you guys could probably tell. I played high school football, and there was a dude on my team who had dinner plate nipples. Like that's what we call like dinner, bigger than pepperonis.
Areolas.
Dude. All right, so
can I move on?
That's it. So yeah, no, I didn't know if you want to finish your thought or like we're just
now hungry.
Bailey Zappi is the answer. I am a big fan of the non-Power 5 guy breaking through and having success in the NFL, especially for the Patriots. I feel like Mac Jones is just the dick kicker, and I just think I'm worried about him. He's got too much that Alabama blood in him. I really think that their ceiling is higher with Bailey Zappi.
God,
I mean, nobody likes
dinner plates. I'm so hungry
dude,
now.
I know, man. This is why I need to come on y'all's podcast and just like talk about nipples and stuff. But anywho.
Nipples and stuff podcast.
Yeah, I guess I should like start my own. You guys can be my guests on that one. But anywho, I don't know. The only question now is like, do they start the teams start calling the Pats about Jones leading up to next week's trade deadline? Ooh. Okay. Anywho, you know who the Seahawks are not trading as their quarterback right now. He's like playing like a Hall of Famer. His completion percentage almost like 75%. Of course, I'm talking about Geno Smith, who here had the Seahawks in first place in the NFC West this far into the season. Mike?
Nope. Wasn't me. This has been stunning every which way. And in a season where we've seen plenty of people taken out of the context they were in and watching how bad things can go, watching Russell Wilson nosedive on the other side of this in Denver, watching Geno Smith come out of the hyperbolic time chamber of being a backup for the last 7 years to be one of the best quarterbacks statistically in the NFL right now, and to see Pete Carroll get to finally run the offense that he really wants to run, to see Kenneth Walker III go out and ball, their rookie out of Michigan State, especially in this last game. It's been pretty stunning here, and I feel like I owe a lot of people an apology, but Pete Carroll is still at the top of that list.
All right, Brandon, I'm looking at the odds right now. Plus 3,500 on the DK Sportsbook for Geno Smith for NFL freaking MVP, man. Ooh. We know it's a quarterback award. Come on.
Hey, I love it. And he's going to do that on his back. I think the defense, you can thank them. The rookie sensation, Tyreek Woodland, has been intercepting thing. I love that it's like this Legion of Boom 2.0. And it's so funny to think that Pete Carroll is getting the last laugh of all this thing, like of all these like bad, like we talked about, Mike, over and over and over again. We would think most people for the Seahawks would choose Russell Wilson over Pete Carroll, and they got their medicine and they're so happy for it. Like I'm now Todd Bowles is over there with the Bucks. Like, damn, maybe we should trade for Geno.
You know what? Wait, you mentioned the youth in that secondary. I need to look up and see if they're all a lot younger than that, if they're all rookie range. Because if they are, could we call them the Legion of Womb?
Ooh, dude, that's oh my god. Okay, you heard it here first. Mark the tape. Mark the tape. But going off of that, Mike, the Seahawks are doing that thing again. They're building through the NFL draft and they're finding gems on like day 2 and day 3 who end up becoming integral parts like of this core. Like Brandon already mentioned, well, he was the 153rd pick in this year's draft.
Yeah, it's all gotten back to normal, and it's been fun to watch. It's been a really nice, pleasing offense to watch, which I'll give them credit for too.
All right, guys, we're running a little out of time, so we got to go to our final question. It's everyone's favorite question in this segment every Wednesday here. The Gojo Rose Ceremony. Who or what has earned your Rose of the Week, Mike?
I mean, listen, it can go to no one else. And I understand this is a holdover Rose from last week, but I don't care. It is Taylor Swift. We mentioned her off the top of this podcast. Midnights is a triumph. It's been fantastic. It's been the only thing I've listened to this entire week since last Thursday. Everyone who hasn't listened to it so far, go write the egregious wrong in your ears. Go put it the 3 a.m. editions, the normal editions. Mastermind might be the best finisher she's ever had on an album. Anti-Hero is a delightful single. It's all there for you, ready and waiting.
Tim, I feel like after all these years, she's releasing these albums like randomly too, and like your passion for it, I feel like I should start listening to her. I really
Emerson,
do.
I feel like you really have a great time with her, man. She's got some, and at this point in the catalog, there's something for everybody. She's really diversified the portfolio. It's not just country, it's not just pop, it's a little bit of everything.
All right, Brandon, who are you handing your rose to this week?
Not to Taylor Swift. I know that. I'll ball some people up. How about this? New York football, the Jets and the Giants, right? After Sauce Gardner's named AFC Player of the Week, after Quinnen Williams won AFC Player of the Week last week, the first time the Jets have had back-to-back Players of the Week on defense, and then Daniel Jones over the NFC Player of the Week for what he's doing with the Giants. I just think I didn't recognize how electric the entire league would feel with the Jets being relevant and the Giants actually playing great football. And I like what I'm seeing there.
They are the real deal, dude. They are the real deal. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the Jets coming up after this break because the Jets hosting the Patriots. Gentlemen, it was a good time as always, from the size of men's nipples to Taylor Swift's new album. This is my favorite segment every week. I literally just slacked Tom Glennon, our producer, that. Thank you so much for both of you being you. We'll dive into some week 8 game totals around the NFL after this.
Bye, winner.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to an at-home edition of the Swat My Dogs. We got fall throwdown going down right now on the couch behind me. You can't get this anywhere else. No one else is doing this except DraftKings here. Pierce Dietrich, Jeff Ulrich. It is really good to have you two here because we need to talk about some of these week 8 game totals ahead of week 8 in the NFL. So let's see if you guys are going over or under the projected total. And we got to start with America's team because America's team is also London's team. So it's the Jags taking on the Broncos, which I don't know what the hell's going on with Russell Wilson. It's either going to be a backup quarterback or a banged up Russell Wilson. So right now it was 39 last time I checked. Would you go over or under this one, Jeff Ulrich?
Well, first of all, I'm definitely taking the -150 on Georgia to win that fight right now. I'm very experienced with your dogs, and I know she's more feisty, so give me that. But look, Jaguars, Broncos, man. I mean, who is betting the over in this game? I mean, the only thing you need to bet on this game is what is the first score going to be? Is it going to be a field goal? It's +110. That's what you need to do. This game is going to be about 12-9. I don't care who starts for the Broncos, if it's Russell Wilson or whether it's Brett Rippon, or whether they bring John Elway out of retirement. These two teams are going to run the ball. They're going to make mistakes because they're the Jaguars and the Broncos. The Jaguars can't finish off drives. They look good in spurts. Their defense is good. They're going to stop the run. They're going to force the Broncos just to take what they can get. And then the Broncos defense has been shut down all year. No, this one is just don't get up for it. Bet the under, bet field goals, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce, I heard you giggling over there. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I just was a little distracted by the dog fight in the back. Careful with that. I don't want to see the dogs get hurt. Anyway, field goals. Yeah, that's probably the bet. I like Jeff's take there. Definitely bet any kind of field goal prop you can get your hands on. Denver, just 25% of the time do their red zone attempts result in touchdowns. That's the worst in the league. Jacksonville's not much better at 50%. So these teams just cannot get the ball in the end zone, and it's not a big surprise when you've got your running back fumbling into the end zone like Travis Etienne did last. He looks good. He does. Good. The receivers look good. Lawrence looks good, but again, they all look good from time to time. Lawrence isn't quite consistent yet. Etienne isn't quite consistent yet. There's no way he's going to carry the ball 30 times. I know that he's now the guy in Jacksonville, but you can't throw him completely into a full game. They're getting there. Denver, Jeff's team is getting nowhere. They're regressing. That offense is terrible. Bottom of the league in passing, bottom of the league in rushing. They can't do anything. Meanwhile, they got a great defense. So you got a pretty good defense there, halfway decent defense in Jacksonville. You got to play the under.
I went looking for a tie prop in this game. That's where I'm at with this game. I actually looked for a tie prop. It's plus 1,400 to go to overtime too. Something else to think about. So, anyways.
Well, like the tie is the thing in the AFC South this year. Let's not forget that between like the Colts and the Texans. Which Etienne is he's the man there now in Jacksonville because James Robinson has been shipped off. He is a Jet. I'm not quite sure how much he's going to play this week, but they need him after losing their rookie running back. The Jets did to an torn ACL. So the Jets are going to host the Patriots here, guys. The total's not much higher than that of Jacksonville and Denver. So it's 40.5. The Patriots also don't know who they're going to start at quarterback. At least that's what they're saying right now. Pierce, what do you want to do with this total? Over, under, or just stay away spot?
Let's go under here. Both offenses are not looking good, just like the offenses. Well, I mean, Jacksonville offense is halfway decent, but the Patriots, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback, even if it's Mac Jones and he's healthy, or Bailey Zappi and he's healthy, but he's still Bailey Zappi. They don't really have the greatest wide receivers. Their running backs are okay. Their line's okay. They really should have been blanked last week. That they shouldn't have really gotten any points on the board against the Bears. They got lucky, hit a couple plays. Otherwise, they score 0. If they put up a goose egg last week against the Bears, people would definitely be off them going into this game. Jets offense, as we've mentioned all season, they've got some weapons, but can they get the ball to the weapons? Probably not. We haven't seen that very much. And with Breece Hall now gone, this offense changes dramatically. And they weren't really doing much to begin with. They were scoring points and moving the ball some. But now you've lost one of your most dynamic players. Oh, by the way, their offensive line took another hit this week, losing another starter. They're down 3 linemen. The line's getting worse. You lost your running back. James Robinson's probably not going to be much of a factor. The defenses are halfway decent. So I guess you go under here as well.
Okay, Jeff, you going in the same direction?
Yeah, I'd lean over here. It's a small total, and the only thing I argue with what Pierce said is just the last statement. I don't know if the defenses are halfway decent. The Patriots just got handed to them by the Chicago Bears of all people, and I get it. Like, it was Fields, and it was Fields running the ball, and we don't really have that element, but I do feel like with the thing with bad quarterbacks is they also turn the ball over a lot, and you could see defensive scores, and then you could see big plays. It just feels like this one might get there just on some – I think it's going to be an ugly game, but it's going to be an ugly game with broken plays. There's still playmakers. You got Ramondre Stevenson, who feels like he could just go for a 50-yard rush at any point. Michael Carter's going to fill in for the Jets as well. Robinson will be there. I'm not too worried about the loss of Breece Hall. It's a factor, but I think that there's probably going to be enough for this to get there. I think that the defense is probably going to show some cracks. And then, like I said, when you add in turnover-prone quarterbacks, leads to points as well. So it's an ugly one, but I will lean slightly over. I just think that the defense are just going to give up too many points here.
All right, let's go to one of the highest totals here on the slate. So we have the Lions and Dolphins, number set at 51.5. Is it still sitting there? It is. Jeff, what do you want to do, man? Over or under? It shouldn't really be a surprise that the Lions offense, though, right, is finding a lot of success, and their defense finding little success, that they continue to be among the highest totals, right? Every week.
Well, yeah, but this is an easy under. I mean, the Detroit Lions have scored 6 points in their last two games. This idea that the Lions are some, super offense and they're just being held back by their defense, that's just fairy tale stuff. The Lions got by because of some loose defenses in the first few weeks. Teams were figuring it out. They got garbage time points. It's still Jared Goff at quarterback. Their team is still banged up. Even if DeAndre Swift comes back this week, is he going to be 100%? It doesn't sound like it. Like, I get that they've dealt with injuries, but you're also going up against the Dolphins defense, which is pretty good, especially on the outside. I don't think they're going to let Amon-Ra St. Brown run all over the field. Again, you just look what the Dolphins did last week. They have playmakers, and they're going to move the ball. Absolutely. Probably at will here. But their red zone, their efficiency in the red zone wasn't that great last week either. And if they get a lead here, they're just going to play. They're just going to run the ball with Mostert, and they're going to move the ball on short passes. And maybe they get 30 points on their own, but are we trusting the Lions to get us 20 points at this point? I don't think you should. I think this total is way too big. It's inflated from the start of the year that the Lions had. It's an easy under for me.
Yeah, man, the Lions just reeling again here, Pierce, which, by the way, Dan Campbell 4-17 as Detroit's head coach. That's on pace to be even worse than Matt Patricia, who went 13-29-1.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. Now, we can't make some excuses. He is dealing with some injuries over the last couple of weeks, but they still are Lions. They still lose games. But I'm going to go with the over. If we just look at some of the basic facts, the defense for the Lions is not good. That opens the door for Miami, who, at times look really dynamic. They've got the weapons. It just comes down to Tua being just okay. But Tua in this matchup, I think he can be explosive. I think Mostert can have a big game, and definitely those receivers can put the points on the board. And then we look at the other side. The Dolphins' defense is good when healthy. Did they play well last week? Yeah, but they're playing Pittsburgh. They did have a gutsy performance the week before that against the Vikings, but their secondary is in not a good spot. And I could see Detroit, if healthy, we got to see who's going to be lining up for Detroit. If they can get some receivers back, get Swift back. They've got a top 5 offensive line in terms of run blocking, pass blocking. You give Goff time to pass. You give him some weapons against a secondary that's beat up. I definitely believe this game's going to go over.
Yeah, Jeff, it's somewhat peculiar to me that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers haven't figured out things yet on offense, which Sunday Night Football, they're taking on the Bills. This total's 47.5. You can't say the same thing about the Bills offense right now, but can the Packers do enough to convince you to take the over here?
So this is kind of going to be one of my hot take spots of the week. I think you're going to see the Packers show up here. I've seen Aaron Rodgers operate too long, and I've seen the Packers get off to bad starts, 2-4, whatever, 3-5. And they go into a spot like this and everyone's against them. And all of a sudden it's Aaron Rodgers just coming through with the classic Aaron Rodgers game. Yeah. And I think they're going to stiffen up here. I really do. I think they're going to, I don't know if they're going to win the game outright, but I think they're absolutely going to make this a bit of a barn burner. And the Green Bay defense on the other side is not going to do them any favors. They've allowed over 24 points. They allowed 23 points to Washington, 27 to the Jets. So I think this one goes over for the simple fact that the Bills are going to be able to score. And I think Aaron Rodgers makes this a game. He's got too much pride. He knows he's going up against Josh Allen. Everyone is against him now. We've just seen this story for too much. If you want to say he's done, maybe he is done. Maybe it is father time finally, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that the Packers show up this week. I think they put up points, and I think this game is really close. I think it goes over the total.
What do you think about that, Pierce? Are you in the belief that Green Bay will turn it around in any meaningful fashion here?
Not this week. I agree it's going over. I agree that Rodgers will be fine. If you're watching these games, Rodgers isn't the problem. His problem is he doesn't have any receivers. They're not on the same page. Even if they were on the same page, they're really not that good of receivers. So there's nothing he can do. I mean, and it's partially the blame for the Packers. And I've mentioned before, they let their offensive coordinator left in the offseason. Adams left in the offseason. I think the offensive coordinator is the bigger issue. I mean, think about this. You're going into the season with an unproven wide receiver corps. They've been injured since preseason. There's no chemistry there whatsoever. So, the smart thing would be to, hey, run the ball. You got two really good running backs. What are they doing? No, they're just passing. They're passing nonstop. Just 17.3 rush attempts per game over the last 3 games during that losing streak. That's the worst in the NFL. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to have a chance to run the ball this week because the Bills are going to put up 30 points in the first quarter. That's going to force the Packers into pass mode. They can't pass. Now, I think Rodgers eventually will get some points on the board and will go over in garbage time. But the turnaround is going to have to wait for down the road.
Okay, guys. Well, we're tight on time, so we got to wrap things up. And Aaron Rodgers not happy with his teammates once again, even suggesting to cut reps for struggling players. So what else is new there? Jeff, you'll be back to talk some golf here in just a second, but we got to get to Paul Bruno. He's got to help us build some money-making lineups around the NHL tonight right after this very quick break. Bye, Pierce. All right, let's dive into some of the top DFS and best bets for tonight's small 3-game slates around the NHL here, Paul Bruno. But looking at it, there's some quality on here tonight, man, especially like in DFS. So the eternal question is, do you start McDavid or Draisaitl, or is there another center you have your eye on here with Edmonton on the slate?
You know what? Fading the Oilers' dynamic duo for 2 reasons. Emerson. First of all, I want to be a bit contrarian on a short slate. That's how you win big here. Ownership for McD and Draisaitl will be very high. So secondly, I believe in the defensive structure and experience of the Blues lineup will go a long way toward keeping a lid on offense in this matchup overall. In fact, I'd rather use one or even both of Tampa's top centers, as Stamkos and Point will face the Ducks in Anaheim tonight. Stamkos cost $7,400 after scoring 7 goals and 2 assists while playing second-line minutes with Killorn and Nemesnikov. Meanwhile, Braden Point costs only $5,200. He's getting first-line minutes with Nikita Kucherov and Brandon Hagel on the top line. He has 6 points in 6 games. Both these guys featured on the top power play and could have a field day against the Ducks team that is leaking goals. They've given up 24 in their last 5 games.
All right, Paul, pay up for Panarin's production or another winger you have your eye on because he suited up last night, played against the Avs. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, I'll touch on that game last night. I'm fading Panarin because he had a very draining matchup in that contest, an OT loss to Colorado, and faces the daunting prospect of a rivalry game against the crosstown and rested New York Islanders club. Instead, I go back to that St. Louis Edmonton game for Vlad Nemestikov. I want to pay up. I go for this guy at $6,900. He's playing top line minutes against the Oilers. He's off to a nice start with 6 points, and the Blues 4 games played today. They have the lightest schedule, so he's raring to go, and he's going to find holes against a team that thinks offense more than defense overall. I also like in the higher end Nikita Kucherov as part of a Tampa stack. I mentioned low price for Point. I'm going to stack that entire line. This guy's $7,400 salary will fit in there. In addition to being a top producer, he's an emotional leader for this club, and they lost a game against LA, and a trip to LA and Anaheim with 2 losses in a row just won't sit well with him. So I know he's going to have this club fired up and should give the Bolts ready to play in this one. And finally, because I'm spending high elsewhere, I go back to the New York battle to take a guy like Kyle Palmieri for only $2,800. I expect this to be a game dotted with power play opportunities, and he plays first-line power play minutes along with his third-line regular shift. He's just that veteran-type player who will show up big in a game that means something to both clubs tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about a spend-up defenseman here? I mean, I'm looking at Victor Hedman, who's on the first power play unit as well. 5 points, first 6 games, averages more than 3 shots on goal per game, Paul.
Well, you're reading my notes. He's guy. I'm going to go high-low on the back end. Normally, I don't spend up on the blue line, but in this scenario with a short slate, you got to get one of the top guys. And for me, Hedman makes a ton of sense in this matchup. I said earlier, I'm expecting the Bolts to bounce back from last night's loss against the Kings. And anytime they play well and put up big points, this guy's a contributor in a large way. So I expect that to be the case. And I'll pair him with Torrey Krug, saving a little bit of money on my number 2 defenseman, but he's number 1 on the St. Louis pecking order in terms of power play time and regular shift. He'll be right there getting all the high leverage minutes, and that'll only cost you $4,300 in this spot.
All right, dude. How are you going to attack this 3-game slate on the DK Sportsbook?
I'll give you something to think about for each game, Emerson. On a short slate, by the time we get around to talking game lines, I feel like I've already tipped my hand here a little. I'm quite happy to take the Blues on the puck line plus 215 to win by 2 or more against the visiting Oilers, because more often than not, I trust defensive structure over offense. In the other games, I like the Lightning on the puck line because I expect them to run up a score against Anaheim, so they'll win that one going away. And then finally, the Rangers on the second of back-to-backs are going to be forced to use Jarro Halak, and that's going to tend to make them play a little bit more defensive-minded, and that's the Islanders' bread and butter. So I'm taking the under on this game for minus 110.
Paul Bruno, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Appreciate you, dude. We'll talk to you tomorrow, okay? Because we have some PGA Tour price check that we have to bring the people right after this break. All right, it's the Bermuda Championship, everybody. Let's get after it. We got some PGA Tour price check here. Well, Jeff Ulrich was here. I don't know where the hell he just went. He disappeared. We lost Jeff, says TP on the 1s and 2s. So this is your segment. Len Hochberg. Wait, Jeff's back.
I'm back.
Yeah!
I closed the window. I'm sorry. I got fat fingers over here. I don't know what I'm doing.
The boys are back. The boys are buzzing here. All right, this is an interesting field this week, Len, because a lot of these players you see priced in the 10K department are nowhere near that in other fields around the year, around the season. So how do you decide who to spend up for this week?
Yeah, one of the first things we have to do, there are a few weeks like this every year where guys just, this isn't a $10,000 guy. This isn't a $9,000 guy. We have to, get over that, because this week they are, because we'd never be able to find 6 guys because everybody is quote unquote overpriced. That said, there is so much variance in this field and so much volatility, and that's not even including the weather. A tropical depression moved through Bermuda the other night. There are thunderstorms in the forecast every day, whipping wind. I'm not feeling confident about any of these $10,000 guys, actually. I put some in my column because I'm supposed to put guys in every price range, but the highest guy I had was Aaron Rye at $10,100. He will not be in any of my lineups, though.
Jeff Ulrich, go ahead, man.
That's a big vote of confidence. I actually like Aaron Rye as well. Glenn is right. This event is going to be absolutely wild. It's going to be stoppages. It's going to be windy. There's going to be wave splits probably, because one way is going to be playing in gusts. The next way is going to be playing in calm weather. But Aaron Rye is the dude who's won in Europe. He's won against quality fields. He's played all around the world, and I just think his game sets up well. He's not a player who I'd want to take in a birdie fest, but he's a straight hitter. He absolutely is going to hit fairways and greens. And, again, a shorter course with a little bit of, technical difficulties around it with wind and stuff. I think that really favors him more than any other player, above 10K. I mean, Mark Hubbard is interesting. He's really good on approaches, but the rest of his game is up and down. Seamus Power has been awful of late. Dietrich is interesting as well, but he's 10-5, and McCarthy's just not good enough to be 10-4. I think Aaron Rye is actually the play up here. That's where I would go, and I really don't mind him for betting, although, again, as we talked about yesterday, like I think live betting is a very good route to go this week as well.
Alrighty, let's go to our next question here, which is 9 more golfers in the 9K range. Which ones catch your eye, Len?
Yeah, perhaps I was a little bit too hard on Aaron Rai.
No, you weren't. No, you were not. You're
good. Jeff makes a compelling case. He hasn't won in Europe, which is puts you in the Hall of Fame in this field. But actually in the 9s, there is some guys, especially one guy I'm very interested to see, S.H. Kim, $9,600. He is a young Asian player from Korea, just making his way onto the PGA Tour through the Korn Ferry. He's had some good finishes, 4th at the Shriners, 13th at the Sanderson, or backwards. I always mix up the Shriners and the Sanderson Farms, but he's finished 4th somewhere and 13th somewhere. Top 20 in putting. Putting counts for this week. Also looking at Steven Yeager at 93. We thought with all the wind, greens are going to be missed, even by the best of the iron players. Steven Yeager, very good scrambler, top 10 in scrambling last year on the PGA Tour, and 9,200. Russell Knox, one of the few guys to play this tournament all 3 years, nothing worse than 16th in a week where we can't predict anything. 16th or 12th or 11th for Russell Knox all 3 years looks pretty good to me.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, 9K range. Do you have a dude?
I mean, I'm pretty much on the same 3 players. I mean, but I would rank Yeager as my number 1. I mean, I am very bullish on this player. And again, I almost think like he's getting, it sounds crazy because all these guys are priced up, but I think he's actually a little bit underrated this week. You look at long and short-term form, his approach game is trending up. He's 5th in approaches over last 50 rounds. Len mentioned his short game. He's absolute elite around the green player. This is exactly the kind of profile you want for an event that's on a short, tricky course. Everyone's going to be missing greens all week because of the wind. There's going to be stoppages, and it's not long, which is really Yeager's biggest weakness is just length and just inaccuracy off the tee. So his weaknesses aren't going to shine through. His strengths are going to shine through, and he's playing well. He's made it 5 cuts in a row, which for him is just like, it's the most consistent stretch of his career on the PGA Tour. I really like this setup, and I think Russell Knox, just with the experience and the approach game that he brings, he's a sensible play at 9,200 as well. I like Yeager's upside a little bit more for wins, and then Kim is another player. Like, he's just played well. The tee to green is there, the confidence with the putter has been there. So, and these guys are in the lower 9K range rather than paying all the way up. So those are the 3 players I would target as well, with Yeager being my favorite.
All right, guys, we're got a couple more minutes left in the show, so a little tight on time. But Len, how the hell do you hunt for value in a tournament like this?
Emerson, I've spent way too much time researching this tournament, more than I would like a big tournament where we know a lot of the guys. But I go down the list. I'm sure Jeff did. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? But quickly, some names I like. Brandon Wu at $8,400. He's had some high top 5 finishes, top 6 finishes in much stronger fields. 7,700. Sam Ryder, just a very solid 100 to 125 every year on the PGA Tour. Ben Taylor at 7,400, an Englishman, presumably a win player. And Kevin Yu, another young Asian player at 73, looking to see what he can do this week. He's had a good start to his PGA Tour career.
Jeff?
I like Cameron Percy at 7,900. I think that's just a solid value. Good approaches, been confident of late. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets in the mix. Scott Piercy at 7,300 typically dominates these shorter courses as well. I think he's way too cheap for the field, but we can get a little nuts this week. Oh. Nico Echeverria at 6,300. Actually, he might be 6,200. I've already lost him on the salary thing. He's got a long first. I should be able to find this guy. He's actually 6,400. Nico Echeverria, Latin American. He played in the Korn Ferry. He posted a bunch of top 10s and top 20s on the Korn Ferry. It's very inconsistent, but again, you come to a field like this, Echeverria, I mean, he could absolutely pop up. And then right behind him, Ashke Badia, I mean, this is the dude who turned pro at like 17. He has been a little bit out of form of late, but like his only win on the Korn Ferry came in the Bahamas. Both of these guys are absolutely live in this field. I mean, I mean that sincerely. They are live. I'm not saying they're going to win, but if you want to get a little bit crazy in an event that could be rain-plagued, wind-plagued, both Echeverria at 6,400 and Badia at 6,300. I'm not making these names up. They're worthwhile GPP plays.
Okay. We got to get out of here, but very, very quickly, your favorite DFS play for the Bermuda Championship is who, and quickly why, Len?
Yeah, SH Kim, I mentioned earlier why. I do want to stress, this is a 132-man field. More than half the guys are going to make the cut. The 6,000 guys, they're going to get there. Some of them are going to get there.
All right. Jeff Ulrich, favorite DFS play, please.
Yeah, Steven Yeager at 9,300. I just think this is a terrific setup. Great opportunity for him to grab his first win.
All right, guys. Good stuff. Appreciate both of you for helping us out. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We're back live in studio tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We'll see you then.